Alex from the Office Lab, and today I want to show you how to create this beautiful and interactive dashboard in Microsoft Excel in 5 easy steps. Now, to give you a general idea of what you can do with this dashboard allows you to filter your data by different perspectives, for example, by years. And as you can see, all the charts in the dashboard above are updated immediately according to the selection you made. And another pretty cool thing is that these filters down here are working together. So once you made a selection in one filter, all the other filters only display the data points that are still available with this previous selection made. So I think this is a pretty helpful tool to display whatever data you're interested in. In my case, I chose some sales data. I generated randomly just some dummy data, but you can choose whatever data you like and whatever filter you like. So let's get right into it and see how this is built step by step. So the first thing you need is data. For this example, I generated some hypothetical sales data randomly, but you can use whatever data you like as soon as they have this certain shape, like my data. So the different dimensions have to be in the header row, and your entries have to be beneath that. And in my case, I guess I have about 2,000 entries in here. Like with order ID, a date, a customer ID, some generic customer name, company name, then a salesperson, the region the salesperson works in, some generic item names and the price, quantity for this item, for this order in this case, and the resulting revenue. So in the next step, we're going to build our 5 pivot tables that are required to create our dynamic charts for the dashboard. The first chart we want to create is the sales trend line chart. So let's go to the New tab and insert a pivot table. Now we have to select a certain range of data. So we go back to the sales data and select the whole range. Exactly like this. And now for the pivot table, we have to choose a dimension for the rows. And as we want to have a time series, we choose date. And now you can see it's summed up also on a quarter basis. We don't want that, so we delete that field. And as we want to have a look at revenue, this is what we drop down into the values field. Yes, exactly. And now we're able to create a pivot chart just with one click. And since we want to have a line chart, we're gonna change the design of this chart and change chart type into a line chart with some beautiful dots. So that's it for this first chart. Now the second chart we're going to create is the sales by region chart. And for this we want to use the maps chart function, which is a pretty cool feature in Microsoft Excel and PowerPoint. So we're going to create another pivot chart by selecting the whole range, and then we drop the region fields into the columns area and the revenue fields into the values area, just like before. There we go. And for some reason we are not able to create the maps chart directly from the pivot table, so we have to copy these values. For the state names we can leave them as they are, but for the values, as we want to have a dynamic later on, we have to create a reference to the pivot table cell for all 4 of these cells. California, New Mexico, and Texas, Texas, Texas. There we go. And now with this copied and adjusted table, we can, let's change that to revenue, yes. Now we can create our maps chart. Let's see, there it is. So it automatically reads what states or what countries you inserted. So that's pretty cool, and it's even cooler when it gets dynamic. So let's head on to the next one. Let's continue with the sales by employee chart. For this, we create just another pivot table, just like we did before, with the same data. So we select the same range like before from the sales data tab. And what we want to do now is compare the performance of different salespersons, not only between these persons, but also over time, so that we can see if the performance dropped or they improved. And since revenue is still the main measure of performance, we drop that field into the values area just like before. And now we are able to create our pivot chart with just one click. There we go. There we have our pivot chart. And as you see right now, it's pretty colorful, looking not so nice in my opinion, but we're gonna deal with that later on when we start to design our dashboard. So for our fourth chart, we want to have a pie chart that visualizes the share of each item in the total revenue. So we create just another pivot table from all the data. And this time we drop the item field into the rows area and the revenue field into the values area. And then we can just use this one-click option for the pivot chart. And there we go. And as we want to have a pie chart, we have to change the chart type. And we choose that donut. I think it's the most beautiful pie chart by far. And now we can continue with the last chart. For our last chart, we want to have our customer revenues displayed in a descending order in a horizontal bar chart. So for this, we just have to create another pivot table and use the customer name field for the rows area and the revenue field for the values area. And then we have to sort our pivot table in an ascending order by sum of revenue. Let's say, there we go, sum of revenue, right? Because when we create that bar chart, it will be the other way around. You will see it. Here we have just a vertical bar chart, basically, a column chart. And there we go, switch it to bar chart, and as you can see, that's exactly the result we wanted. And so we just finished the creation of all pivot tables and charts. So now we can continue with the next part, which is the most fun part, I guess. All right, so let's start building the dashboard. I'm really excited to show you how to do this. So the first thing we're going to do is getting rid of these grid lines because they don't look so nice for our dashboard. And now we need a nice background. And I choose this picture. I hope you like it because I really like it. And now let's start by inserting our header line. So we choose a text box. And we have to choose a font. I really like Helvetica Light because I think for this purpose it's like the most beautiful font you could think of. And let's just call it Performance Dashboard. Right, and let's make it a bit bigger. 45 should work. Yeah, I guess it looks nice. So now let's delete the filling and the line, and let's make it white. Perfect. And now we want to have a little subheader. So we put this up here and create a line to separate those two headers from each other. Let's create this line. And I don't think it's perfectly horizontal at this point. So let's make it wide and then adjust the height to 0. There we go, 0. And now we can insert our subheader, which we just gonna call, let's put it there, which we're just gonna call, let's think of something, the Office Lab Enterprise Incorporation. Just some random name, but I think it should look nice. Okay, let's make it a little bit smaller, 28 in the center. All right, and now let's just reorder these elements so that they look good together. Let's make this a bit shorter and put it in the center. All right, perfect. So now we can start building the key elements of our dashboard, which are basically some simple rectangles that we need to create our so-called tile design. This is what I want to do, having different tiles with the charts in it. Now let's make this black with a black filling and no line. And then the key element of my dashboard design is working with the transparency of these tiles, because I think this looks really beautiful. And in this case, I guess 60 should just work fine. This looks good to me. And now I just have to duplicate this one tile and adjust the shapes for the other 4 tiles to create the basic structure of my dashboard. So let's just resize this and copy it 2 times. There we go, 1 time. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Reorder this and copy it, put it next to there. We have to make this bigger as well, so that they more or less have the same size. And now I guess we have to readjust the upper one like this. Yeah. Guess that looks nice. Okay, and now we have to create the last of the tiles, which will be on the right side, and go from top to bottom. Like this. Yeah, okay. Perfect. And now let's just move all these tiles together more or less into the center. Manually. Okay, there we go. We have to keep in mind that we still have to keep some space below these elements, because later on we want to insert some filters below there. Now let's continue with creating the titles for our tiles. So let's make it a bit smaller. 20 should be a good size. And for this first tile, we want to insert our time series later. So this is going to be our sales trend tile. And let's just position that and then just copy it to the next tile, which will be our sales by region tile. So there we're going to insert our nice looking maps chart later on. Let's rename this sales by region. And yeah, we have to make it a left alignment, a little bit bigger. Perfect. Now we can take this one for the next tile, which is the sales by employee tile. So let's rename this one sales by employee. Make it a bit bigger, copy it to the 4th tile, which is the item share tile. Oh, nice pie chart, donut chart. And last but not least, we have our customer revenue tile. So we call it customer revenue, and there we go. So let's insert some icons. Okay, so where are the icons? Actually, they should be right next to the shapes up there. I have no idea. So I guess I just have to copy the icons I need from another file. So just give me a moment. There we go. Beautiful icons. I really love icons. I think everybody should use icons. So yeah, I think that makes like everything more beautiful as long as you use them the right way. Okay, so let's place them where they should be. And perfect. So the next step is to insert the charts we created earlier into the dashboard and adjust their design in order to make them fit well with the general dashboard design. So let's start with the first chart, which is the sales trend chart. Let's simply copy it from this tab to the dashboard. And let's be honest, right now this chart just looks like utter trash, so we have to do some adjustments to make that look better. So let's start by setting this to no fill and change the color of the chart to white, and then we're going to smooth the line, which is a pretty cool feature in my opinion. Makes it look much better. Now let's get rid of all this unnecessary stuff. Yes, and now let's just set the color, the general color of this to white. And now we just have to, oh, of course we want to get rid of this borderline right here. Don't want to have this in there. And now we just have to adjust the size of the chart a little bit so that it looks nice. And now this should be good enough for this first chart. So let's continue with the second chart, which is our beautiful maps chart for the sales by region tile. Let's just copy and paste it, insert it, and there are not that many adjustments we have to make, just some general stuff. Delete this title, resize it, and just move it down. Whoops, no, that's not what we wanted to move. Wanted to move the chart. Let's do it and just adjust the size to fit into the tile, make this white. And that's pretty much it, I guess. Let's move on to the third chart, the sales by employee chart. Copy it, paste it, and do the general adjustments to make it fit into this tile. I think this chart is way too colorful in my eyes, so this is a bit confusing. It might be subjective, but I think with all these colors, it's not really pleasant to look at it. So let's change the colors to some shades of blue and of green. First of all, because I really like these two colors. I think they're way more pleasant to look at than some, for example, yellow or red. And the second reason is that we already have this different shades of blue on the left side, so I think that fits very well together. It's not that much contrast in the chart. So there we go. Yeah, that was already white. Let's make this white and this one as well. And yeah, let's make it a bit bigger so that it's better to read. No, not that big. It should be fine. Let's adjust this one as well to a size of 10. And yes, maybe then we should also adjust these axis titles, axis descriptions to 10. Yeah, I guess that's good. So for our item share chart, let's just copy that. And for this one, we're going to change the colors just to these different shades of green we already have in the sales by employee chart, so that now we have on the left with the sales by region chart, we have these shades of blue. In the middle, we have the different shades of blue and green. For the item share, we have different shades of green, and then it's kind of like symmetric. So it's like this one and this one. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Now we just have to readjust the size to bring it more to the center of this tile. And so now let's continue with the customer revenue chart. Copy that one, paste it, and just do the general adjustments we already did for the other ones. Make it fit in there, like this. Get rid of these lines. Adjust this to 10. And set it to no fill, no line, of course. And just stamp to white and size 10. And they're already at 10. Yes, and maybe we should think about, closing these gaps a little bit. So make this gap width a little bit smaller. Of course, we change the color to white. Because white is also beautiful. So white, blue, and green, I guess these colors work really fine together. So let's just adjust this one a bit. Yeah, that should be good. Now, one thing we have to do is to format these numbers into some numbers format without any decimal places. And let's change this major unit number. I guess we have to change this major unit number, right? Or the minor one? I'm not sure. Now let's do the major one to 40 maybe. Yeah, that's good. And now, of course, we have to adjust the number format for all the charts for this one as well in equivalent way. That's good. For this one, okay, there's no option. Let's just leave it that way for now. And yes, I guess we have just finished the general chart design for this dashboard. The last step of this tutorial is about implementing the filter function so that we will be able to filter by different dimensions. To do this, we first have to click on one of the charts. Let's take the sales trend chart, and then we have to insert so-called slicer. So select slicer, and then we can choose what dimensions we want to filter by. Let's choose years, region, salesperson, and item for my case. And now let's put these slicers beneath all the other elements of the dashboard so I can show you. So now with these slicers, we're able to update the sales trend chart, only the sales trend chart right now, because these slicers are only connected to this chart. In order to update all the other charts as well, we have to, let's just quickly reset those filters. We have to do a right click on this and go to report connections. And then we can choose all the pivot tables respectively charts that are connected to these other charts, to all the charts up front here. So we have to do this for every slicer. Let's do this for salesperson, dimension slicer, and for the last one as well. And once we finished doing that, we're now able to select some filter here, and all the charts will be updated according to that filter, according to that selection you made, which is pretty cool. Works perfectly. Let's reset this. This one works as well. An item should work just as fine. Perfect. Let's reset this. And now we just have to integrate them into the dashboard. So let's copy this rectangle from the tile up here and move it down and just adjust it in size. Yeah, that should be fine. And now we want to change the color, respectively the transparency, back to 0 in order to make it stand out from the rest of the dashboard. So it doesn't look exactly the same, and that the user knows there's some functionality down here. And then we just name it filters, I guess. Yes, that should work just fine. And now, of course, we need an icon because icons are just awesome. Let's place it here. What we have to do now is to place the slices in there and of course adjust their design in order to fit into this filters area down there. So for this I just created a custom design before, and let's bring that to the front. What we're going to do now is we change the number of columns for the 3 left sliders to 4, so that we have 4 elements next to each other horizontally, because that makes it much better fit into our filter section. And now we just have to reorder them in a more or less symmetric way. And as you can see right now, in the region chart, New Mexico, it wasn't totally visible. Now it's visible. So we have to make sure that all the elements are completely visible. Yeah, let's move that a little bit up here. And then we have to adjust the size for the salesperson slider so that all the names are visible as well. Perfect. Let's move it down here. And now for the item slicer, we choose 3 columns because we have 5 elements in there. And in my opinion, it wouldn't look too nice if we have only 1 element in the second row. So let's do it this way. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. Like this. Yes. And maybe we move all the elements, all the slices, oops, a bit up. But I think that's it. So we just finished this beautiful dashboard design. So eventually, let's have a look at the final result in action. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, comment, check out the other videos in my channel, and see you soon. Until then, have a great time.